ONE FC just finished one of their most massive and biggest events in the history of the organization and the history of the MMA. The whole event was fucking amazing. There was a lot of different fights, a lot of different knockouts, a lot of submissions, a lot of surprises. But I will stick to the top 3 most known fights on the card. I wish everyone could see it, and I also hope that you will go and see some reviews. So let's start first with Adriano Moraes versus Wakamatsu. Adriano Moraes shocked the world after he knocked out Demetrius Johnson with his knee on the ground. It was amazing KO, and then I think that everybody started paying more attention to who Moraes really is, and he's just legit. Wakamatsu went on a 5-fight winning streak after losing to Demetrius Johnson, and he's legit. And Moraes just made a quick and easy work out of him. Even though Wakamatsu had some good moments in the fight, got the takedown in some of the rounds, but at the end of the day, Moraes and his grappling and his submission skills are just on another level, and he managed to submit Wakamatsu in a guillotine choke. It was just absolutely crazy. I would love to see Moraes in UFC. I think he could put an amazing fight against Petr Yan. Holy shit, I think he's so big for the division, he could even challenge Alexander Volkanovski. I think he has what it takes to be two-weight division champ, and so far he's proving it in ONE FC. I really hope once his contract expires, UFC will snatch him, because he is a top level fighter. Next on the card, we had the amazing event, the first ever cross fight in the MMA history. We've talked about it before. It's Rodtang versus Demetrius Johnson, and we've seen a lot of people switching to different sports. We've seen Floyd Mayweather boxing, Conor McGregor. We've seen some of the boxers just giving it a go in the MMA fights. We've seen a lot of famous kickboxers switching into MMA and just giving it this long road of just like learning the takedown defense and really getting grasp of the grappling in MMA. Israel Adesanya, perfect example, gave it, like, his transition into MMA took several years. He made sure to learn his grappling skills, to learn his takedown defense. Now Alex Pereira is also transitioning into MMA. But this crossfight was basically, hey, we don't want to take several years out of someone and to see them transition. Let's take the best out of Muay Thai, let's take the best out of MMA, and let's match them with the special rules. And the special rules were that first round was only striking, second round was MMA rules, basically grappling, wrestling, and striking everything. Third round was again only striking, and fourth round was only, again, MMA rules with wrestling, grappling, and everything. And all of the rounds were 3-minute long rounds, and we had 2 most prolific fighters of all time. Rodtang, who is one of the best Muay Thai fighters of all time. The dude had 250 fights on his record by the time he turned 21. Think about it. He's amazing fighter. Amazing. He's just made out of fucking iron. And on the other side, we have Demetrius Johnson, one of the best MMA fighters of all time. This is all the talk was put to the test, because we always wanted to see, like, hey, can these fighters challenge these fighters in this other discipline? And the question was, can DJ survive the striking round with Rodtang? Because if he can submit them. And that was the fight, man. Rodtang went out blasting. The first round was so entertaining. Like, in the first minute of the fight was more entertaining than some of the entire events of any organization. It was just wild. Rodtang was swinging, but what we learned that Demetrius Johnson is one of the best ever, right? But he can hold his own. So we can learn that even though some of those exchanges were wild, and you could see the DJ was just like, just seconds away of just being knocked out. But he had, his footwork is amazing, his head movement is pretty good, so he managed to hold his own. So we learned from this fight that a lot of UFC, MMA, ONE FC fighters, they can sort of hold their own in the striking department. I mean, Demetrius Johnson is one of the best to ever do it, but we can see that the MMA fighters can really hold their own, unless we go to the heavier weight classes. Because when you come to a heavier weight class and you, for example, face fucking Deontay Wilder, even in one round, he's gonna knock you out, right? But in the lower weight classes, we can see that the MMA fighters in the striking department can survive and they can hold their own. However, when we got to the second round, I have to give a lot of props to Rodtang, because even despite the fact he was only training for the grappling for several months, which is almost impossible to learn anything or to just like grasp to the level of grappling that DJ has. I mean, DJ put the flying armbar on an opponent who was being taken down and was in a mid-flight. DJ's grappling is on another level, you know? So Rodtang had only few months to just prepare for it, which is almost impossible. But I have to give him props because even though he was submitted towards the end of the round, he was doing good job, you know? DJ didn't get a single take, like DJ didn't get an easy takedown in the beginning of the fight. You could see that Rodtang was just like backing up, which is kind of funny because when the first round started, DJ was backing up the whole time. Then the second round started, and Rodtang was backing up the whole time. You could see as soon as the fighters were there in their own element, it was a completely different game. But you could see that Rodtang was fighting the hand, like DJ took Rodtang's back, but Rodtang was fighting the hands. So he got some training and he was doing a good job. He was doing a very good job of fighting the hands of DJ. But there is levels of the grappling and there is only so much you can learn in that short period of time. And we've seen that DJ submitted Rodtang in the second round. It was a very entertaining fight. I think these kind of crossover fights can only happen for pure entertainment. I don't think they'll answer a lot of questions like which sport, which martial art is better. But if it's done similarly as DJ and Rodtang, I think there can be a lot of entertainment. I don't think that either of the fighters' legacy was damaged. They did amazing. That fight gave me so much more entertainment than I initially thought it will. And I recommend you guys go watch it. It was entertaining, it was fun, it was respectful. Both guys recognized each other at the end. It was just game recognizes game. It was amazing fight. And I don't know, do you guys think there's more future fights in this kind of crossover style, or do you want to see some more advanced rule sets or some people getting more time? I don't know. For example, Fury boxing and Ngannou. Fury said that, hey, let's do it in octagon, let's do it with 4-inch gloves. That kind of, rules could work. Even though I would say maybe allowing a clinch, some knees, not kick, but some knees to the body, to the legs, could make it more fair. Because even though it's octagon and even though it's still 4-inch gloves, I think the boxers still can basically demolish MMA fighters. But that's for another day. This crossover fight, Rodtang DJ, oh my god, amazing, go watch it. Then we go to the main event, Angela Lee versus Stamp. And these two girls don't get enough attention in the world of MMA. They are legit. Angela Lee, I believe, is only second female fighter who gave birth to a child naturally and won a championship. We've seen it in Juliana Peña when she stunned the world by defeating Amanda Nunes, but now Angela Lee gave birth, took some time off from MMA, came back and defeated Stamp by an insane submission, literally towards the last few seconds of the round. And I cannot imagine what it must do to your body when you are a female fighter and you go through giving birth, being pregnant and all that. Like Juliana Peña mentioned on the Joe Rogan's podcast that it's just insane. Like they had to go through so much recovery, so much physical therapy to just be able to recover and get to the top shape. Because we are talking about fighters who are in the top shape of their life. And I imagine like not only you take insane break, not only your body go through so much changes, and also giving birth, as a man, I cannot imagine what it has to be. I believe it's just an insane experience. And being able to come back, to get into a fighting shape, and put on such a show. I mean, you have to give it. I mean, Angela Lee looked solid. She looked so good, I believe she could hang in there with the best UFC female fighters. I think she could hang in there with freaking Valentina Shevchenko. I think Juliana Peña and Amanda are too big for her weight, but I think she can hang in there with Valentina and Rose Namajunas easily. And she is only 27 years old. Think about it. She is solid. I mean, her striking looked good, even though she got clipped by that huge liver shot. I mean, Stab hitting those body shots on point, and I think the body shots are still kind of underrated in the MMA, but Angela Lee recovered. She overcame that adversity after getting clipped clean to the body, and then she submitted Stamp at the end of the first round. It was just wild. And that whole fight was just amazing. I just really enjoyed it. ONE FC put on a good event. I'm a huge UFC fan, but I have to recognize that ONE FC, man, the whole walkout. I mean, I'm so sad that the UFC doesn't put too much attention on like walkouts to the octagon, because Stan was just like dancing there and just enjoying herself. Like that was yet another point of entertainment. I think all these organizations have something to learn from each other. And man, if they just take the best of each organization, put it all together, I think that the whole event can look amazing. Angela Lee proved to the world that she's one of the best to ever do it. She's only 27 years old. Stamp, on the other hand, she was also, her takedown defense and her basically defending. So like Angela Lee had full on locked in triangle choke, and Stamp somehow, I don't know how, she got out of it. That whole fight was crazy. But at the end of the day, Angela Lee managed to submit Stamp by a rear naked choke, and it was just wild. It was entertaining. I mean, the whole event was massive. There's so many great fights. I recommend you guys to go and watch it and tell me what you feel about it. What do you guys think? Should Moraes, at the end of his contract, sign with the UFC? Should we see some crossover fights more often? And do you think that Angela Lee would hold her own, or maybe even defeat Valentina or Rose Namajunas in the UFC? Let me know what you think about this event in the down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!